Do you feel like you've lost your way? Are you overwhelmed and anxious on a daily basis? Do you feel like you're too stressed out to enjoy life? If so, you've landed in the right place. The Gratitude to Bliss show is about stressing less and feeling blessed. It's about figuring out what matters most, letting go of what doesn't, and creating a life that makes you feel happy and alive. I'm Lorraine Miller, mom, health coach, award-winning author, infertility survivor, and recovering stressaholic. And I'm on a mission to help you overcome overwhelm, improve your health, and find your bliss. The best part? It's so easy to get started. The Gratitude to Bliss show starts now. Hello and welcome to the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. I'm Lorraine Miller, your host, and I'm so excited to have you here today. I want to thank you for listening to the show. And we have an awesome guest today. Our topic is sugar and how to overcome sugar addiction. But before we get into that, I want to talk about episode 1 of the Gratitude to Bliss show. If you haven't watched or listened to that show yet, be sure to check it out because in that episode, I walk you through a very simple gratitude practice I call vitamin G. And I give you powerful tips for sticking with it and getting the most out of this amazing tool. So definitely check that out and be sure to subscribe to the show. My guest today is Sue Brown, and she is a recovered sugar addict. Sue lost 52 pounds in 52 weeks when she was 52. And that was after a lifelong struggle with sugar addiction. She is a health coach, an author, a speaker, and she lives at the intersection of neuroscience and nutrition. Her book, Simply Sugar Free: 6 Simple Steps to Conquer Sugar Addiction, is an incredible resource for anyone wanting to understand how sugar affects your mental and physical well-being and how to free yourself from sugar addiction. I met Sue during our health coach training program at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I just love her story. It's one of perseverance, triumph, transformation, and a whole lot of self-love. So let's bring Sue on. Welcome, Sue.
Hey, Lorraine.
It's so great to have you here. You know, doing our health coach training program together at IAN was such a great experience. And I just love the connection that we have and the connection we have with so many other health coaches that are working hard out there in the world to help people overcome their health challenges and really shift things out of this health crisis that we're in. And I think that a big part of that is sugar. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Lorraine. When I actually conquered my own sugar addiction, it was 17 years ago now, and sugar was starting to be a big deal, but it's become a huge deal since then. It's amazing.
Yeah, the conversation is really changing and people are really more and more aware all the time. And I've noticed that even if people aren't necessarily changing their habits yet, they're at least aware that they need to. And that's
Right.
where your work comes in, and that's where your book comes in. So tell us about how you help people, and then tell everyone, about your book. I have it here. Um, it's it's got tons of recipes in it. It's got great information, but let's hear from you. What sparked you to write the book? And tell us a little bit about your story too.
Sure. So I'm one of these people that since birth, really, sugar called my name. I always preferred sweet things. Like, some kids would be happy to eat bologna sandwiches. Not me. I wanted peanut butter and jelly. Or the kids who would have eggs for breakfast, and I wanted frosted flakes with extra sugar on top. So I knew that I liked sweet things. It went off the rails for me really around high school when I started using sugar to medicate a bit of a social anxiety. And then I got on this wheel that many people get on of getting married and having children and having a job and continuing to use sugar to medicate. And it ended up at the age of 52, um, I felt miserable. I felt old. I felt used up. And I happened to be at a retirement party at work. And that day, I just said, I'm going to figure this out because I am smart enough, educated enough. I need to be able to figure this out because I don't want to feel old and used up.
Mm.
So that day, what happened to be right before Christmas, December 6th, 2000, no, December 14th, 2006. And I spent about 6 weeks. And I did find one book that explained my brain to me. And it's called Sweet Poison. The author is David Gillespie. He's from Australia. And I set about for the next year unraveling what I could and couldn't eat without triggering what for me was a monstrous sugar addiction. And by accident, almost, it ended up that 52 weeks later, I had lost 52 pounds and I was 52.
That is that is so amazing.
And when
I
you
mean,
come up with a magical number like that, and then you have the opportunity to take a class about writing a book, you're like,
right.
oh, that's a no-brainer. I think I have a story to tell.
You absolutely do. And it's such a beautiful story. Um, so that's awesome. And so you are offering a free digital copy of your book. Is that right?
I am.
So I'll we'll put in the show notes for everyone that wants to access a free copy of Simply Sugar Free. And then you also have simple ways to increase happy brain chemicals. So we'll put that in there too for everyone. And thank you so much for doing that. We all need these tips and these strategies to deal with sugar and how it affects us. Um, Tell us a little bit about the work that you do, your coaching work, and how people can find you.
Sure. So, like many people, I've had a difficult few years with the pandemic. For me, on top of that, was my husband's passing of a rare and aggressive blood cancer. And that caused me to also retire from a 38-year career all at the same time.
Mm,
So, I am in a position now where my life's purpose and my only focus is to be able to give back by sharing information with people. Like I said, I solved my own sugar addiction through dedication and research, and I'm trying to short circuit that as much
mm,
as I can for anybody else and at no cost. So I have a website. Everything about me is simply sugar free. So you can find me, you can Google that for my website, for the book, a YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. And at the moment, I'm not coaching. What I'm doing is connecting people who need information with resources that can help them. And I have resources around the world, and I have resources at all price points. So I am happy to connect anybody. If you don't have any money, I don't care. I have people who will coach you in a group setting for nothing. And
wow.
it's that passion that I want to share. So if you go to my website, simplysugarfree.com, you will find a form to get on my mailing list. And you can also leave a message there. And that's where I connect people. I read every single message that comes in and connect them to what I think is going to be their next best step. I don't have the energy, I don't have the time to do that coaching myself, but
Mhm.
because of my experience, I make a really good connector.
Beautiful. I love that. That's such a great offer for people, and I hope that everyone takes advantage of that if you are struggling with sugar addiction, or if you're not sure, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but um, a lot of times we're not aware of how food affects us. I recently did a master class on the food mood connection, and I talked all about that because we're not always aware that sometimes our symptoms, especially things like anxiety and depression, can come from food. So if you have an inkling, definitely reach out to Sue. And it sounds like you're gonna put people in touch with what they need, and that's
Right.
awesome. Um, so while you were going through the transformation at 52 years old, during that time period, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced?
For me, it was so I'm a big believer in the internet and all the information that it provides, but it's like drinking from a fire hose, and not everything is accurate.
Mm.
So the frustration for me was spending enough time and doing enough research just on myself. I mean, everybody needs to write down what they eat, what time they eat, 20 minutes later, how they feel, and 2 hours later, how they feel, because you're not going to be able to untangle the foods and their impact unless you do that. And for me in particular, I'm just like so like rabid crazy around sugar. And for me, until I realized that sugar, and the little bitty chemistry lesson here, sugar is two molecules holding hands, table sugar. So you have fructose, and fructose is the really sweet molecule. Some people think of it as fruit sugar, which it is, the fructose and fruit, but it's the sweet, sweet, sweet part of sugar. Came about hereditarily back in the days when bears needed to get fat before winter, and berries and fruits would fatten them up, and they would be attracted to that sweetness. But the other half of the sugar molecule is glucose, and that's what we think of as starch. So glucose is not very sweet. Like the people who do home brewing, they buy just the glucose half as a feeder for their beer and their yeast, but it's not sweet. So for me, as a sugar addict, only the very sweet things trigger my addiction.
Hmm.
I can have as many starches as I want, and there'll be no impact from an addiction point of view. Now, I stress the word addiction because not everyone is the same. So, my sugar addiction is most likened to an alcohol or drug addiction. And once I start, I can't stop. And I know immediately when sugar, the sweet part, has hit my taste buds, and it goes straight to my brain. That's a very short distance, and it's a very strong signal. A lot of people, I thought that's like 10% of the population, right? Like not everybody is an alcoholic who drinks alcohol, only about 10%. It's the same thing for a sugar addict, meaning the sweet part of sugar. Now there's the problem with glucose. Some people are also addicted to that. It's a different response. It's not going to your brain and triggering the reward center. It's going into your bloodstream as blood sugar, which is sending a little signal to your brain, but nothing like the one that the fructose is sending. But a lot of people get hooked on that mild relief they feel when they have starches. And starches are what make people gain weight. So when you think about your blood sugar, so the fructose doesn't impact your blood sugar. It's just sending this massive hit to your brain. The starches are sending hits to your blood sugar. And if you think of it like a roller coaster, when you ingest glucose, then your blood sugar is going to spike. Your body, your pancreas is going to put out insulin. The insulin is going to try to clear that glucose out of your blood sugar and put it to use in your cells. But here's what happens. Every time you have that roller coaster spike of blood sugar, you get the resulting roller coaster spike of insulin. And then it's a little bit delayed though, because by the time your body goes, oh heck, what was all that glucose about? Then the insulin comes about. You're going to dip below your baseline. And that's when you hear people saying, I'm hangry, I'm depressed, I'm sad. So now you've gone from what might have been your baseline and you've spiked yourself up. And now you're below your baseline. And guess what? You want glucose to fix it again. So let's say you have a donut, it spikes. Now you're feeling low mid-morning and you're like, I need something out of the vending machine. And the
Mm.
problem is that every time there's that spike, like the roller coaster, imagine the area under the curve, and that area is the propensity to gain weight. That's the problem, is that your body is going to, every time it spikes, say, ooh, we need to store some of that as fat because something's going on and it's not good. So that's the biggest problem that personally I'm seeing right now, is that I had the addiction problem from the fructose, but I'm shifting a little bit to talk about the glucose issue because that's the one that's causing the weight gain, the insulin resistance, the diabetes. That's the one right now that people really got to look out for.
Okay. That's a great lesson. I thank you so much for breaking all that down for us because I know it's way more complicated than that, but you're really simplifying it. And that's what's so beautiful about what you do. Um, so did you go like cold turkey? Like it sounds like you educated yourself about what was going on. You identified the issue, but how did you break the habit? I mean, if you had an addiction, that sounds like a very strong one. What tools did you use? How did you figure this out on your own?
So for me, they do recommend to go cold turkey if you can, but I just couldn't. It was just like that was not going to happen. So for me, I did it one meal at a time. So I figured out breakfast, and then once I got stable from breakfast to lunch, then I tackled lunch, and then I tackled dinner. So, for me personally, I need protein within an hour of waking up. People get real argumentative about breakfast, but truly, if you're a sugar addict, you probably need protein at breakfast. And people can debate how early, how late, intermittent fasting, do I wait till lunch, and all of that. That's fine. I like to keep it simple. That's why it's simply sugar free.
Mm.
I want 20 grams of protein within an hour. And then I started journaling to to see how was I feeling, right? And then I recommend people have to add in more food before they take food out. Because if you focus on the deprivation and the taking food out, you're going to crash. So you just need to, for a while, think about what can I add that's going to stabilize my blood sugar without triggering my brain to keep me on a steady keel throughout the day. And then you're going to have to get some exercise. I happen to like to walk. Um, that's my choice of getting exercise. And then you can take out the sugar, which is a painful process, no matter whether you rip off the Band-Aid or do it a little bit at a time. And now you're in the radical self-care, Lorraine. This is where the gratitude comes in, right?
Right.
Now you're in a position where you're eating breakfast, you know what works for you, you've added in some good food, you're getting some exercise, you've taken out the sugar, and now you have to do life. And even with alcoholics, this is the hard part. The hard part is adjusting to, for me, the little bit of social anxiety without my crutch. My crutch was food.
Mm.
So the challenge for me, it's gotten much better. It's been 17 years. I'll be 69 on Monday. Woo!
Wow, congratulations.
Been a long time.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know. So eventually your brain settles down. We have very remarkable brains, and it will figure things out for you. And I've gotten some self-confidence. I don't have the social anxiety because I'm not carrying the weight and I'm not embarrassed, all of that. Um, and I rely on gratitude every single day.
That's so beautiful. So much in what you just said that I want to comment on. So, number one, I love that you did one meal at a time. You didn't try to do everything at once. And I think that's a really important thing to be aware of when you're trying to do anything really, to break it down. And I mean, gratitude actually fits into all of this because if you feel like you have to do it all or it's not worth it, you're not really appreciating the steps along the way, appreciating the journey and simplifying. If you can if you can beat breakfast, right? If you can win at breakfast, then you can go to lunch and then you can go to dinner. So that right there is beautiful and just bringing gratitude into that. And then the other thing you said was bringing food in. That's how gratitude also helps us when we're working with food, whether it's sugar or some other part of, maybe it's eating more organic foods, maybe it's cooking more. When you go to the deprivation, you're going to that state of lack. You're not in a state of gratitude. But if you bring in more foods and you really appreciate those foods, like hopefully they're plant-based, um, whole foods, or even if they're not plant-based, they're natural foods. There's so much to appreciate about them. So if you add gratitude to that, then then you're in a state of gratitude when you're going through this process. And then you also mentioned journaling to kind of help you stay on track and process your feelings. Because whenever you go through some kind of transformation, there's usually emotions that come up, and journaling is really great for that. Um, and just really appreciating the progress, right? Can you talk a little bit more about how gratitude can help people when they get stuck, when they have cravings, and
Now,
or maybe they give in to those cravings and they feel bad.
for me, and I kind of cross over between gratitude and journaling, but it's so important to write down, um, even if it, even if you feel you've failed, quote unquote, to learn from everything, because everything is really a lesson, right? And if you eat something and then you feel bad, or you eat too much and then you feel bad, it's important to learn from that, either writing it down or thinking it through. I walk 6 miles a day. So some of my
Wow,
journaling crosses over into meditation that happens on foot. Um,
beautiful.
because if you don't learn from all of these things, that's what life is about. It's about learning. It's not perfection, it's progress. It's just continually, and that's what I've done all this time, is I just continually refine, 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 even this morning. So I I leave my house. I've been fortunate enough to move to the beach because, why not when you're a widow living alone, you might as well. Even this morning, when I walk out the door, the first thing I do is I listen for the birds, and then I think about the things I'm happy for, and then I start my walk. And as I'm walking, the dopamine, the endorphins, the serotonin, the oxytocin, all the things in the handout people can have, help me buoy and support my entire day. It's my foundation.
Mm,
So for me, it's like every day.
Oh, I love that so much. You're doing so much all together like that. And you're filling yourself up every day. So, so beautiful. Well, we have to wrap up soon, but I want to take a moment for our wheel of gratitude. So, Jessica, can you spin the wheel for us?
Yes, and today we landed on body.
Body, how perfect. All right. So, everyone, just take a moment to appreciate your body, appreciate everything it does for you 24/7, and think about all the gifts it brings going on walks, watching a movie, talking. I mean, so many things. Just love on your body for a little bit and focus on the feeling of gratitude as you think about your body and how wonderful it is. Okay, so we're going to end now. This has been so helpful. Thank you so much, Sue, for sharing all your wisdom and your knowledge. Um, Remind us again your website and how people can find you.
Yep. So my website is www.simplysugarfree.com, and you can leave me messages there, and I guarantee I'll talk to every single person.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for those of you that want to check out my free masterclass on food and mood, you can go to gratitudetobliss.com/food mood masterclass, and you'll get free access to it. And while you're there, you can also check out my group coaching program that's going to be starting in July. It's called Calm, Healthy, and Stress Free. I'm going to be sharing more about that program in the next episode of the Gratitude to Bliss show, and where I'll be sharing how vitamin G helps us create healthy habits. So, thank you so much, Sue. It was great having you here. This is the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. Remember, I love you. Take your vitamin G. Thank you for listening to the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. In today's stressful world, you need an attitude of gratitude to stay healthy and positive. And the vitamin G practice I teach is the best way to make sure you get your daily dose. Join me, Lorraine Miller, every first and third Friday at 12:30 Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio, and let gratitude improve your health, relationships, career, and so much more. Get excited at gratitudetobliss.com. I love you. Take your vitamin G. Are you ready to wake up every day feeling grateful and alive and excited about your life? Are you no longer willing to tolerate feeling anxious, stressed, and overwhelmed on a regular basis? If so, then you're ready for Calm, Healthy, and Stress-Free, my 3-month group coaching program where we work on mindset, nutrition, and lifestyle to help you boost your mood, gain focus, increase your energy, and get back to being you. I'm Lorraine Miller, and I'm living my dream life. I want to help you do the same without stress, anxiety, and overwhelm getting in your way. Join Calm, Healthy, and Stress-Free. You'll connect with others who will support you through the power of community and be on your way to loving life every day. Visit gratitudetobliss.com/group coaching to learn more.